we have a struggling ostohomie, and she just had her surgery. She's a youngin', and she's struggling. She has medical PTSD. Her stoma nurse isn't great. Same, girl, same. Felt. I'm gonna help you. None of this is medical advice. This is all experience from an ostohomie. So this isn't coming from a healthcare professional. This is coming from an experienced ostohomie. That's it. I will preface this by saying that it sucks recovering from surgery, because your abdomen, when it gets cut into, when you remove an organ, your body naturally fills that space up. I know you guys probably saw the Jackson Pratt drain that I had poking out of my abdomen for a couple days after my total rectum removal last year. That's kind of to help regulate the amount of fluid that your body is really putting in that spot, because your body will absorb that fluid and eventually break it down back into what it needs. But while you're recovering from surgery, your body is adjusting. Not to mention, your colon has a lot of important things. Your colon, large intestines, they have hormones in them, including serotonin. It pretty much controls about 95% of your hormones. And there's a lot that goes on within the colon. Your colon is required for absorbing a lot of nutrients and water and all kinds of things. So when your body loses an organ as vital as a colon/large intestines, your body is going to take time to adjust. Your abdomen is going to keep swelling and going down and swelling and going down. And your stoma is going to do the same thing. And it's going to be that way for, experts say, about 3 to 6 months. Mine was about 3 or 4. Okay? So unfortunately, it does suck for the first couple months. But there are ways to kind of help the suck better. There's things like barrier film. So, barrier film, or barrier spray, this stuff in particular is kind of like I don't want to say a second skin, but it's like a force field that surrounds your skin and basically stops the output from getting on it. All right. So, I actually have something that'll kind of help us today. This is Paloma, the Foma stoma, or the stoma Foma. This is quite literally a foam stoma that I was given in my Welcome to Stoma Life packet from Hollister. And this actually used to have a little adhesive sticker on the back. And I actually wore this around for a couple weeks before my surgery. I actually wore this. I would change the bags and stuff. I had a small little kit of bags just to teach myself the everything. Hollister has that available, so Hollister Incorporated. I can go ahead and tag them. They do have those welcome kits available. I call them welcome kits, but it's like an introduction to an ostomy, so you guys get familiar with it. Mine had this little foam stoma in it. So we just sprayed our barrier spray, and now we got to make sure it's dry. So this part's not. Now it is. All right, so dry. You see how my fingers are not slipping off my arm? Like, this is without the barrier up here. You see how everything is just kind of staying? I'm like working hard for it. All right, so your peristomal skin, your stoma. Your stoma is covered in stuff. This watery type deal, right? That is your intestines lubricating itself. So that can actually break down the barriers as well. As your stoma lubricates itself, your stoma, your barrier nearest your stoma is going to start breaking down. That's why it's important to be aware of all of how your system works. That way, even if your wafer isn't time to change it, your barrier may need to be changed, and you're going to have to change them both. So, putting your barrier ring around your stoma, it's important to create a tight seal. See? So it's important that you can't see any skin around the stoma. Because that will allow output to get behind your wafer and get onto your skin. And that's where the skin irritation comes from. The output that comes out of here either builds up or gets naturally pushed behind the barrier and onto your skin. And output, stuff like that, has bacteria in it that makes your skin irritated. So, how can we help this? Personally, I use these. These are convex wafers. These go over the stoma and they kind of press the skin down a little bit. You see that? You see how it starts out? This may not be the best way to do this, guys. I'm sorry, I'm trying here. So, you see how it's kind of raised up, and then when you go to stick it down, it kind of flattens a little bit, but it still keeps your stoma up and raised. So there you go. You can actually kind of see it, how it pokes the skin through. That's what we want. These flat wafers and stuff like that, they don't really do a good job of that. Here, let me. And if you have an ileostomy, you may notice that you accidentally ordered colostomy supplies. Now, it's not that super big of a deal. However, one of the biggest important differences between a colostomy and an ileostomy is the fact that an ileostomy output has liquid in it because it doesn't go through our colon. So a lot of that liquid that we have just goes into the bag as well, the way it would typically progress to the colon to get absorbed, where the poop would get solidified. Instead, it comes out my abdomen in a more liquid form because not all of it has been absorbed. So, you have your flat wafer. You see how that doesn't really push the skin up a whole lot? Like it does. It really, really does. But it's not a whole lot. And then when you bend and stuff, it's not very forgiving. Not at all. Whereas this, you have a little bit more extra room. This bottom convex also kind of acts as a secondary barrier. So stacking the two of them on top of each other is not a terrible idea. Stoma powder. Now I am going to get my stoma, well no, I'm not going to do that quite yet. Stoma powder. So, you take some of your stoma powder and you get it on your skin. Rub, 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 rub. All right, you also want to make sure that this is dry. Even though it is a dry powder, you want to make sure that this is dry. I have heard from ostohomies who struggle with having a lot of moisture behind their wafer that doing this before applying any other spray really helps. And let me show you here. This is actually something my stoma nurse did for our bag change in her office. So I have my stoma powder, right? Barrier spray. And the two of these together form an unholy barrier that the Pope could not break through for your skin. I oversprayed. All right. It's not as dry as I would want it to be. That's pretty darn sticky. That's what we want. So, stoma, barrier, wafer over top. Part 2 coming soon. Welcome everybody to part 2. This is probably going to go on YouTube, so If you're like, why is this part 2? It's because I do this through Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as well. So I break them up into parts that each app can do and then put them together for YouTube. So, another thing, when we had left off in the first video, we had just gone over using the powder and the spray together to make a nice barrier. And I honestly, guys, I don't want you to waste supplies, but also I highly recommend doing what I did in the first video. Just take a little bit of stoma powder and just learn. Just learn. And you'll actually be able to figure it out pretty quick. Because this is what I did. I had a lot of supplies that I really just couldn't use. So, like this guy, we're gonna... This is also a really great way to check and see if you're using too much or too little. And you don't even need like a FOMA. You can quite literally just do this on your arm as I'm about to. So, we have the area from earlier that we just did. This is new. This is what we just did. We're actually gonna rub that in a little. All right, so. You want to make sure, if you're doing this on your arm, if you're trying it out, that your wafer stays. Flex your arm a little bit, move it around, bend it. Get those corners upset. Get it uncomfy. You see how mine's not coming up? You see how the wafer is still on there strong? That's what you want when you create a barrier. It's very easy to make a barrier that is too good and your wafer slides right off. Now, for those of you that are banging your head against the wall, I apologize. This is not a finite science. It's not. As a matter of fact, two-piece ostomy systems weren't even around until the late 70s, early 80s. So this is all very new. As a matter of fact, disposable ostomies weren't even available until 1920. So we're still coming up here in our modern ages. Now, that's pretty good. So I know that I used enough. I am going to go ahead and take that off. So, moving on. We had talked about the convex. We had talked about the stoma powder, but what does it look like to actually be done? So, I'm going to go through a bag change with you guys. I may output. I do have a towel on the floor. These shorts are going to go into the wash after this anyway because I need to do laundry. So, might as well just add it to the pile. Alright, so I use my adhesive remover. Now, we're going to try something a little different, a method that you guys have heard. And this is pretty much about the hairdryer method. So for a lot of ostohomies, your peristomal skin traps moisture. That's not uncommon. Unfortunately, skin issues are incredibly common in human beings as an entire species, and it just sucks that we're so limited in the knowledge that we possess. While we can't control our output, sometimes if you press on your abdomen around your stoma, you get a little bit of output. That was an incredibly badly timed push right there because it definitely looked like I was able to control my output. I am not. I just happened to do that as my stoma was naturally outputting as well. So, the hairdryer method. This method, be careful. You hear me? Be careful. Okay? Alright. That was also a reminder to myself. So, a hairdryer. You may want to turn your volume down if you got it super loud, because I will be turning this thing on. So, we have our clean stoma. but my skin isn't dry. And that makes me sad. What can I do? I can grab a hairdryer. I can put my hairdryer on cooling. Cool it off. Please do not blast your internal organ that has become external with piping hot air fresh from a blow dryer. You very, very absolutely can burn the crap out of not only your stoma, but your peristomal skin as well. You have to remember that your abdominal skin is not the same as the skin on your scalp, okay? So, always make sure you keep it cool. Now, you thought you could run from me? You can't escape the law. Alright. Okay, well, you and what army? Okay. So, the mildest setting. Make sure it's cool coming out before you even turn it on your abdomen. Distance. Okay? Distance. See how much distance is between my stoma and the hairdryer? Keep your distance. What we don't want to do is make things worse while we're trying to make things better, okay? So, now, typically, I use barrier wipes. Where did I put the box? I put the box where it belongs. Alright. Typically, I use these. And these are just barrier wipes. These, in particular, were actually gifted to me. Sent in a package by a former ostohomie who had their stoma reversed. Which, once you're an ostohomie, you're always an ostohomie. But, he ended up getting a reversal. And he sent me his supplies. Which I am still using. Thank you so much. So, we're going to output for a second. Alright. So, instead of using that, I'm going to show you guys the powder method. And yeah, I do it messy because I never do this. So, you might want to hit the dochi. Alright. I have a towel underneath me on the floor, which is why I hit the dochi to get some of the extra off. Okay, so I definitely put a lot on there that I definitely didn't need. And I'm going to show y'all how to deal with that. Steven! Alright. Steven has a lot to say today. Alright. So you put on too much stoma powder. Take a cloth of some kind and just wipe the area. This may also end up turning into a part 3. I think it is. See you guys in part 3. Howdy everybody, welcome to part 3 of Will My Stoma Ever Freaking Stop? Alright. You guys have wanted me to fight my output in a video for literally months. So, I hope all of you that have messaged me about my super easy bag changes are feeling incredibly vindicated and valid right now. Okay. for you, my young ostohomie, I'm going to stay the course. All right. I threw it on the ground. So, I'm going to hit it with one of the matrix angles. So if you get too much on, you literally just want to take some toilet paper and you just want to lightly wipe. You want to lightly light. You want to lightly wipe the area around the stoma. All right. That feels pretty good. Now, I'm going to take my barrier spray. And I'm going to go around the stoma. Now, the more you spray, the more you have to dry. So, be cognizant of your time. Be aware of your time constraints when you do these. I know a lot of people do these on the fly. So, typically you do not need to do this. I'm just dabbing some of the spots that were a little bit more heavier sprayed. And I am going to go closer on the peristomal skin. Around. I'm not even going close to my stoma. I am going all the way around to get all of the edges of where the wafer is going to lay. This is good to get like the middle of the stoma, where the actual stoma is, but always make sure to get your outside edges as well. All right, now, after all that, you should be able to feel it. You shouldn't feel sticky, you shouldn't feel wet. You should feel dryness around the area. It may feel a little cool and clammy, depending on how bad the moisture issue is behind your wafer. So just don't hesitate to use the powder, and also don't hesitate to give your stoma airtime. I know it's super freaking scary when you get out of surgery to have this in the open, but especially while you're learning everything, it's nice to get comfortable having your stoma out. Having a stoma, having an ostomy is all about getting out of your comfort zone. It's not a comfortable experience in the beginning, and there's times where it's uncomfortable. However, it's more manageable. The discomfort is manageable. All right, so a good indicator to make sure that you didn't do too much for your barrier is your barrier ring. If this is sliding off, if it's not wanting to stick to your skin, if it's having issues staying on your skin, see? Then you might have done too much on the barrier. And that's okay. You just got to go back, clean it off, and do it again. Now, when applying your wafer, Stretch it out. Stretch it out. Up here if you have to. Lay down if you have to. Stretch that abdomen out. Stretch it out. A lot of folks I've seen do them slumped over like this, and you'll see even when I'm sitting down, I will lean back and I will stretch my abdomen out. That is because there's a bunch of little microfolds and stuff like that that go into your abdomen. So even though your stoma will miss the major folds, like you see the one up here and the one down here, you're still going to have some smaller folds within your abdominal, it's not a cavity, but within your abdominal region. So, hit the matrix. All right. Now, once you have that placed and you kind of have it like this, you can actually stretch the top out and get all those little folds. You guys see all these little micro folds, right? That's because my wafer goes along a major fold. So all of these smaller ones are because of my wafer. So, if I stretch my abdomen out, I'm actually able to get the wafer to sit between the folds. All right. Now, you saw me put the bag on as I was putting the wafer on. It's because I'm having a lot of output today and just wanted it to get caught in the bag before I had an issue with my wafer. But, let me clean this off here real quick. Okay, so all right, as you can kind of see, thought he was rearing back for more. You can see parts of the barrier. But you can't see any part of the skin. So that's kind of what we want. That's kind of what we want our stoma to look like before we put the bag on the actual wafer. I'm going to go ahead and put my freaking bag on because this is driving me up a wall. All right. All right. Now, recovering from major surgery is difficult. It's important that you stay in contact with your care team, and if your stoma nurse sucks, look outside the healthcare network where your old one was. My old stoma nurse was Tri-Health, and now she's Christ Hospital. So try a different hospital entirely. I highly recommend.